Hello, everyone. I'm the storyteller, and I'm here to help you sleep and relax. But before we begin, I would like to know which city you're from and what time you're watching this. Before we start, click the like button and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's begin. Get comfortable and relax.
My name is Jim, and the story I'm about to share takes place in 1996. At that time, I was a teenager working as a fire lookout in a remote tower in the Pacific Northwest. The job seemed straightforward enough. Keep an eye out for signs of fire, report any unusual activity, and maintain communication with the other towers and the base. It's the kind of job where you have a lot of time to think, a lot of time to be alone. Isolation comes with the territory, and in a pre-internet, pre-smartphone world, that isolation could feel pretty profound. This isn't a story about fires, though. It's about something else, something I can't quite explain, something most people don't believe when I tell them. But it happened, and I've been carrying it around for years now. As the years have gone by, my hope of finding someone who believes me, or even better, who has experienced something similar, has dwindled. Still, I can't shake the feeling that I can't be the only one. Anyways, it all happened on my first week in the fire lookout tower, and I've already settled into a rhythm that fills the long solitary hours. Every morning, the sun peeks through the small windows of the tower, signaling the start of my day. I get out of my creaky bed and head straight to the compact kitchen area. I use a little stove to boil water from my coffee. The aroma fills the small space, giving me a sense of comfort and normalcy. Then, holding my mug, I climb the few steps to the observation deck. From up here, the view is both beautiful and intimidating. The forest stretches out in all directions, an expansive sea of trees that seems to go on forever. My job is to scan this vastness for signs of smoke or fire. I pick up my binoculars and start my watch. I know that my role here is crucial. A small fire can turn into a raging inferno if not caught in time. It's a heavy responsibility, but it's one I've willingly accepted. My radio equipment is sitting on a wooden table. It's my primary means of communication, connecting me to the base and other lookout towers scattered across the region. Every morning and evening, like clockwork, I report in. But today, the routine takes an unsettling turn. After I finish my first sweep of the forest, my eyes catch something that doesn't belong. At the edge of the tree line, well beyond any usual hiking paths, there are shadowy figures. They're just standing there, stationary, almost as if they're watching the tower or watching me. My pulse quickens. This is not something I've been trained to handle. I feel the weight of the binoculars in my hands, as if I'm seeing through a lens of heightened reality. My grip tightens on the radio microphone as I prepare to report what I'm witnessing. I hesitate for a second, doubting myself. Could my eyes be playing tricks on me? But no. When I look again, the figures are still there. Their presence is undeniable. The radio crackles to life as I press a button to speak, my voice carrying a note of urgency that it hasn't had before. Until this point, my days in the lookout tower have been nothing but peaceful. My biggest concern was spotting a wisp of smoke or reporting the occasional stray hiker. But now, these figures add a layer of tension and unpredictability to my job. I find myself grappling with questions I hadn't considered before. Am I really alone out here? What are these figures, and why are they standing at the edge of the forest? Base, this is Tower 6. Do you copy? The radio crackles before my supervisor, Dave, responds. This is Base. Go ahead, Tower 6. I'm seeing some figures at the edge of the forest, standing still. Not animals. They look human, or humanoid at least. Over. There's a brief pause before Dave responds. Jim, you're probably just seeing some wildlife or shadows playing tricks on you. Don't worry about it. Over. The dismissal in his voice is clear, but the figures are still there when I look again. Are you sure, Dave? These look different. They're definitely not animals. Dave's voice contains a hint of irritation this time. Jim, it's your first week. You're not used to the woods yet. Things can look weird, especially when you're isolated. Keep your focus on spotting fires. Over. The conversation ends, and I put down the radio. Despite Dave's dismissal, I can't shake off the feeling that what I'm seeing is real. I write down the time and location of the sighting in my logbook, just in case. After reporting the sighting to the base, I try to return to my daily duties, but it's hard to focus. I find myself constantly glancing towards the edge of the forest, half expecting the figures to have moved closer. I decide to busy myself with maintenance work to take my mind off things. I sweep the floors, clean the windows, and even organize the canned food in the pantry by type and expiration date. As I'm rearranging the cans, I also take stock of my supplies. I count the number of water bottles, batteries, and first aid items. It suddenly seems more important to know exactly what resources I have. The afternoon wears on, and it's time for another sweep of the forest. I pick up my binoculars, hesitating for a moment before looking. When I finally focus on the edge of the forest, the figures are gone. I feel a mix of relief and unease. Did they retreat, or have they moved to a location I can't see? My radio crackles to life, interrupting my thoughts. It's time for the evening check-in. I report that everything is normal. Even though it doesn't feel that way, the base signs off without any further questions, and I'm alone again. As the sun sets, I heat up some canned soup for dinner. I eat slowly, my eyes drifting towards the windows more often than my food. When I finish eating, I decide it's best to lock up for the night. I secure the tower door and double-check the windows. Normally, these tasks feel routine, but tonight they feel necessary. I sit down with the book in an attempt to relax, but the words on the page don't register. My mind keeps drifting to the shadowy figures and the unknown variables they introduce into my solitary existence. Finally, I put the book down and decide to turn in for the night, though I know sleep won't come easily. I lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, my ears straining for any sound out of the ordinary. Every creak of the tower, every rustle of the wind through the trees seems amplified. The next day begins as usual. I wake up, make my coffee, and head up to the observation deck. The forest feels even more endless today, maybe because of the worry I still carry from yesterday's strange sighting. I grab my binoculars and begin my routine scan of the trees. The morning light breaks through the foliage, casting shifting patterns of light and shadow on the ground below. Then there they are again. This time, they are closer than before, standing within a small clearing that's no more than 200 yards from the tower. As I focus my binoculars, I can make out more details. They appear humanoid, but are covered in what looks like dark, tattered clothing. Their features are obscured, as if they are wrapped in shadow despite the morning light. Their forms are irregular, shifting, almost like the static on an old television screen. There's a distortion about them that makes it hard to focus on any specific features. It's like my eyes slide off them, refusing to lock on. Gathering my thoughts, I reach for the radio microphone, hesitating for a moment before pressing the transmit button. Tower 4, this is Tower 6. Do you copy? I try to keep my voice steady, disguising the nervous energy that's buzzing inside me. The radio crackles, and then a familiar voice comes through. This is Tower 4, I read you Tower 6. What's going on? I pause, considering how to word this. Have you seen anything unusual out there lately? Specifically, shadowy figures at the edge of the forest. The line goes silent for a few seconds before Tower 4 responds. Shadowy figures? Do you mean like animals? I've seen a couple of deer and a bear, but no shadowy figures. Why? What are you seeing? I exhale deeply, a little relieved, but also more isolated by his response. I've seen them for 2 days now. they're not animals. They're humanoid, standing at the edge of the forest yesterday, but closer today. About 200 yards from my tower. They're just standing there watching. Another pause on the line, longer this time. You sure you're not just seeing things? It can get pretty lonely out there, you know. Minds play tricks. I grip the microphone tightly. I'm not imagining it. I thought so too at first. But they're there. Today they're even closer. They don't look like people, not exactly, but they're definitely not animals. They're covered in some kind of dark, tattered clothing, and their features are all blurry, like they're made of static or something. Another pause. This time when Tower 4 speaks, his voice has a different tone, one I can't quite place. Well, I haven't seen anything like that, but I'll keep an eye out now. Just stay safe, okay? Maybe keep the door locked. All right, I will, I reply, setting down the microphone. His words offer little comfort. In fact, they somehow make me feel more alone, the weight of what I'm experiencing settling heavier on my shoulders. The next morning, I wake up with a sense of apprehension. I can't shake the conversations and sights from the past couple of days out of my mind. After brewing my coffee, I climb up to the observation deck, almost reluctant to pick up the binoculars. When I finally do, my hands are trembling slightly. I immediately look toward the small clearing where the figures had been yesterday, 200 yards away from the tower. My eyes scan the area, but there's nothing there. For a moment, relief washes over me. But then, a sudden realization grips me. I haven't checked the other areas closer to the tower. My hands move almost involuntarily, steering the binoculars to scan the surrounding terrain. And there they are. The shadowy figures have moved, now just 100 yards away. They are closer to one of the footpaths that lead toward the tower, half hidden by the trees, but definitely nearer. My heart races as I fumble for the radio microphone. My fingers press the button more hastily than before. Tower 4. This is Tower 6, do you copy? There's an urgency in my voice that I can't suppress. Tower 6, this is Tower 4. What's the situation? The voice crackles through the speaker. They've moved again, closer this time, just 100 yards away and near one of the footpaths, I say, trying to keep my voice steady but failing. There's a pause, and the tone that comes back is serious and concerned. Are you sure it's not some hikers or hunters? I'm sure, I reply. These aren't people. At least, not any kind of people I recognize. They're closer, and it feels deliberate. All right, keep your eyes peeled and stay inside after dark. Lock up and keep a weapon close if you have one, the voice from Tower 4 advises. Will do, I respond, placing the microphone back on its holder. As I look out over the forest, the shadowy figures seem to blend in and out of the trees. The curiosity and unease are eating away at me. Just sitting up here, looking through binoculars, doesn't seem like enough anymore. I need to be more proactive, trying to make sense of what I'm seeing. I grab the topographic map of the forest area that's stashed in one of the drawers. It's detailed, showing elevation, trails, water bodies, and other landmarks. Using a red marker, I start placing X on the map, each one representing the approximate location where I spotted the figures. As I step back to get a better view, I hope that pattern will emerge, something that will give me a clue as to what these figures might be. Are they following a trail? Are they near water sources? Close to an old, abandoned campsite, perhaps. My eyes dart from one red X to another, but no pattern is evident. Each night, the figures draw unsettlingly closer to my tower. I can't handle this on my own any longer. Feeling desperate for some sort of validation or advice, I grab my radio and tune into Tower 3, where my colleague Jessica works. This is Jim from Tower 6. Have you ever witnessed anything strange out there? I mean, shadowy figures that seem to be coming closer to the tower each day. There's a pause, a few seconds of silence that feel like an eternity. Finally, Jessica replies, "I've never seen anything like that. It sounds creepy. Are you sure it's not just the loneliness playing tricks on your mind? Have you been getting enough sleep?" I grip the radio tighter, frustrated but also relieved to be talking to someone. "I know what I saw. I'm not making this up. There's something out there, and whatever it is getting nearer to my tower every single day. I have no idea what to make of it." Just as I hear Jessica key up her radio to respond, the connection dies. The radio goes dead. No static, no interference, just an eerie stillness. My heart skips a beat. I tap the microphone, turn the frequency dialer back and forth, and give the radio a couple of frustrated smacks, hoping to jolt it back to life. Nothing works. The dead radio intensifies the isolation tenfold. It's like being cut off from the world by an invisible hand, left to fend for myself with an inexplicable phenomenon slowly encroaching upon me. Now I'm truly alone. With the radio dead, I can't warn anyone, can't ask for help. Night descends on the forest, and the darkness feels more oppressive than ever. I can sense the weight of the evening settling around me like a thick blanket, tightening with each passing minute. Gripping my binoculars, I hesitantly scan the forest below, almost afraid of what I might see. The sinking feeling in my stomach turns into a pit of dread as I find what I'm looking for, the figures. They're not just closer, they're almost right underneath me, nearly at the base of my tower. A shiver crawls up my spine, raising the hairs on the back of my neck. The gravity of the situation hits me hard as I place the binoculars back on the table. This is no longer a distant curiosity or a vague threat. I start to feel cornered, my options dwindling as the figures draw nearer. Whatever they are, whatever they want, the risk is now immediate and terrifyingly real. I rush to take stock of what I have to defend myself. A flashlight with dimming batteries, a basic fire extinguisher, and a flare gun with a single flare. No real weapons, nothing that would be considered reliable for self-defense. My eyes dart to the furniture, the chair, the table, the shelves. In a burst of anxious energy, I move them in front of the entrance, barricading myself as best as I can. It's a feeble barrier, I know, but it's all I have. My heart pounds in my chest as I sit there, waiting, listening for any sound that might indicate what comes next. All I hear is the wind rustling through the trees and my own breath, quick and shallow. Time stretches out, each second feeling like an eternity, as I contemplate what the figures might do and how I could respond with my limited resources. The minutes drag on, each one stretching into what feels like an hour. The tower creaks, the leaves rustle, and each sound drives my pulse higher. I feel like a cornered animal, eyes darting to the barricaded door over and over again. I half expect it to be flung open, revealing whatever awaits me outside. But that moment doesn't come. I can hear my own shallow breaths, filling the room with the sound of my growing anxiety. Gathering my courage, I reach for the binoculars again, my hands trembling as I lift them to my eyes. I look down to the base of the tower, half hoping, half dreading what I'll see. The figures are still there, as stationary as before. They haven't advanced, but they haven't retreated either. They seem to be waiting. It's as if they are waiting for a specific moment or a sign. The standoff continues, with neither side making a move, and I'm left to grapple with the unnerving uncertainty of it all. The tension is unbearable. My mind races through different scenarios. What do they want? Why are they here? Why haven't they moved? These questions circle in my head, but there are no answers. As the first rays of dawn cut through the darkness, I watch through my binoculars as the figures begin to retreat. They move back into the forest, blending in with the trees until they're swallowed up by the morning mist. Even though the sunlight should signify safety and warmth, I feel none of it. The chill inside me persists. I sit back in my chair, trying to collect my thoughts but finding it difficult. My mind is a whirlpool of questions that loop back on themselves, offering no escape or answers. The day drags on, each hour stretching out as I go through the motions of my duties. I maintain the tower, sweep the floors, and eat canned food, but it all feels robotic, almost meaningless in the face of the uncertainty that awaits me. Several times I pick up the radio and tinker with it in a futile attempt to get it working again, but it remains stubbornly silent. The absence of human contact, even just a voice over the radio, feels like a gaping hole in my reality, amplifying my sense of isolation. As the afternoon wanes, I find myself glancing more frequently at the descending sun. The bright sky gradually darkens into hues of orange and purple, casting long shadows that stretch across the forest floor. The beauty of the sunset is lost on me today. Instead, its fading light only serves as a reminder that another night is approaching. Another night with the figures. Another night of not knowing what will happen when the world outside my tower plunges into darkness. I feel a knot tighten in my stomach as the sun finally sets, surrendering the world to the impending night. The night sky is darker than usual, like a blanket of darkness has been thrown over the forest. There's no moon tonight, and the stars are hiding, making everything look like a vast void. My eyes have adjusted just enough to see the figures at the base of the tower. They circle around, staying just out of the range of clear vision. They're close enough to make out, but far enough to keep me guessing. My hand rests on the flare gun next to me on the table. Thoughts rush through my mind, each one grappling with a dilemma. Should I fire the flare gun? Will it drive them away, or will it provoke something I'm not prepared to handle? Suddenly, my ears pick up a noise that stands out from the background sounds of the forest. It's coming from directly below, at the base of the tower. This isn't just the wind or some animal passing through. It's a consistent scratching noise. My heart feels like it's about to jump out of my chest. Whatever is making that sound is not just wandering around. It's trying to ascend the tower. The realization fills me with a mixture of fear and urgency. Reacting more out of instinct than reasoned thought, I stand up abruptly with the flare gun in my hand. I take a deep breath to steady my shaking hands, aim the gun skyward, and pull the trigger. The flare soars high, cutting through the darkness. For a brief moment, the forest is illuminated in an eerie red glow, like a scene from some apocalyptic landscape. As the flare ascends, the scratching sound stops. The figures recoil, retreating into the darkness beyond the trees. For a split second, the world is silent, save for the sound of the flare as it reaches the peak of its ascent. It's a momentary victory. But even as the flare begins its descent, illuminating a smaller and smaller portion of the forest, the weight of my decision begins to sink in. Have I just warded off danger, or have I escalated a situation I don't fully understand? I'm left with an uneasy feeling, standing in the red glow of the descending flare, pondering the implications of my choice. Suddenly, I notice the flare's fiery tail ignite a cluster of dry leaves on the ground. My heart sinks as I see a small fire begin to spread. I snap into action, grabbing the fire extinguisher mounted on the wall. I rush down the stairs, with adrenaline pumping through my veins. My hands work almost on autopilot to remove the barricades I had set up at the entrance. Ignoring the voice in my head, warning me of the dangers outside, I throw open the door and race down the stairs that wrap around the tower. My feet pound the ground as I sprint towards the small fire. The fire extinguisher feels heavy but manageable as I pull the pin and aim it at the base of the fire. With a squeeze of the trigger, the extinguisher discharges, covering the flames in a cloud of foam. The fire sputters, crackles, and then dies, replaced by a cloud of smoke that slowly begins to disperse. As the smoke clears, the gravity of what I've just done sets in. I've extinguished the fire, yes, but I've also stepped out of the safety of the tower. My eyes dart around the forest, scanning the darkness for any sign of the shadowy figures. Nothing. They're gone, as if swallowed up by the night itself. While this could be a relief, it's not. It intensifies the knot of dread in my stomach. Where did they go? Why didn't they seize the opportunity to approach me when I was most vulnerable? Their absence, rather than reassuring me, raises more unsettling questions. Clutching the now empty fire extinguisher, I hurry back to the tower. Every sound, every snapping twig or rustling leaf, makes me jump. My nerves are frayed as I lock the door behind me, quickly restoring the barricade with shaky hands. The flare gun lies where I left it, and I grip it tightly to provide some sense of comfort. Looking out through the window, the figures are still nowhere to be seen, but that doesn't alleviate the weight of unease that has settled over me. They're out there, I know they are. I sit there, flare gun in hand, pondering these troubling thoughts. After a couple of hours, the sun begins to rise, casting its golden light over the trees and filling the sky with shades of orange and pink. Just as the dawn breaks, the radio crackles back to life. A voice bursts through the static, clear as day. Tower 6, this is base. Do you copy? I copy. I respond, clutching the radio microphone. You won't believe what happened here last night. I saw those figures again, but they were closer, right at the base of the tower. And the radio went dead. Slow down, Jim. Start from the beginning, they say. I recount everything. The figures, the scratching at the base, the flare gun, and the fire. I had to put the fire out myself. The fire extinguisher is empty, and there's a burned area in the forest. We're sending a rescue team. Sit tight, the voice on the radio confirms. Within a couple of hours, I hear the distant rumble of an engine, growing steadily louder. A sense of relief washes over me as a vehicle finally pulls up near the tower. The rescue team pours out, inspecting the tower and the area around it. When they get to me, I see their faces change. They can see I'm visibly shaken. "Are you okay?" one of them asks. "I've been better," I reply, forcing a weak smile. They'd find the markings at the base of the tower, exactly where I heard the scratching. Claw marks are etched into the wood, confirming that something did try to climb up. They also find the charred remnants of the flare and the extinguished area of the fire. Despite all of this, skepticism clouds their faces as they look over the evidence. Could be raccoons, or maybe another kind of animal, one team member suggests, examining the claw marks. You think a raccoon fired a flare gun and started a fire. I snap, frustrated by their disbelief. It's more likely that you're suffering from isolation and stress. Another team member chimes in. These jobs can get to you, especially when you're out here alone. But I know what I saw, I insist. These weren't animals. They were human-shaped, tall figures just standing there, and they were getting closer each night. Look, Jim, we all get a little stir-crazy out here. It's normal. You said yourself the radio was out. You were cut off, isolated. Maybe your mind was playing tricks on you, the team leader offers, not unkindly. I shake my head in disbelief. It's clear they're not taking my claims seriously, dismissing my experience as the product of isolation, and perhaps even paranoia. As I climb into the rescue vehicle, my feelings are complicated. On one hand, relief floods over me. I'm finally getting out of this isolated place. On the other hand, frustration boils within me like a kettle on a stove. Despite the markings, the charred remnants, and my earnest recounting, they don't believe me. They attribute my experience to isolation or even paranoia, and that lack of validation infuriates me. The engine roars to life, and we start to pull away. I glance back at the tower as its wooden frame becomes smaller in the distance. As the vehicle navigates through the uneven forest road, I can't help but think about what's left behind. The tower, the markings, the unknown figures. These aren't just figments of my imagination. They're real. My mind keeps replaying the events, and I can't escape the nagging thought that maybe the forest is harboring something that it shouldn't. Something inexplicable and unnerving that defies logic and understanding. That feeling sticks with me as we continue to drive away. Years have passed, and the memory of those unexplained figures still haunts me. After much internal debate, I finally decide it's time to visit the tower once more. As I drive toward the forest, my hands grip the steering wheel tightly. I park my car at the edge of the tree line and take a deep breath, steeling myself before I start the familiar hike to the tower. Reaching the base of the tower, it appears almost exactly as I remember it, except for the overgrown vines crawling up its sides. No one has used this tower in years, as they stopped using it many years ago. I place my hand on the wooden railing and start ascending the stairs of the tower. The steps creak under my weight, a familiar sound that takes me back in time. I can feel the years of disuse in the worn wood, the air thick with dust and lingering memories. As I climb higher, I remember the countless times I made this same journey, always with a sense of duty, but never with the apprehension I feel now. Reaching the landing just before the top, I pause for a moment. This is it, the last few steps that lead to the observation room. Taking a deep breath to steady myself, I climb the remaining stairs and find myself standing in front of the closed door. The paint is peeling and the metal handle is tarnished, but it's just as I remember it. My hand hesitates over the doorknob. Finally, mustering the courage, I grasp the handle and turn it. The door creaks open, revealing the room beyond. As I step inside, it's like walking into a time capsule. The same wooden table, the same chairs, even the same old radio set that once connected me to the outside world. A thick layer of dust covers everything, giving the room an air of abandonment. But despite this, it feels like coming back to an old chapter of my life, one that I closed but never really forgot. I walk over to the window with my binoculars and look out, bracing myself for what I might see. But for now, the forest below is calm, almost serene. It gives me no answers, only a reflection of the mysteries I've lived. My gaze scans over the area where I most often saw those elusive figures. Nothing unusual catches my eye, just the typical sea of green. I'm about to turn away when, in the corner of my eye, I catch a flicker of movement, dark shapes lurking in the depths of the forest. My heart leaps into my throat, and I quickly turn the binoculars toward where I thought I saw them. But there's nothing there now. I scan the area intensely, but find nothing out of the ordinary. Did I really see them, or is my mind playing tricks on me? The question lingers in the air, unanswered. Either way, I decide it's time to go. I put down the binoculars and take one last look at the forest below. Real or not, the figures remain a mystery, a chapter in my life that refuses closure. With a heavy heart, I leave the observation room, close the door behind me, and make my way down the tower stairs. I start my walk back to the car. The forest is serene, but the unease still sits heavy in my stomach. As I drive away, the tower grows smaller in the rearview mirror until it's swallowed entirely by the forest. Though years have passed, the experience remains etched in my memory. No one ever believed my story, dismissing it as a product of isolation and an overactive imagination. But I know what I saw and what I felt.